We've got some
Hey,
fresh new
I'm
young
Luis.
talent
And
doing some
I'm
things that I
Luis.
know you haven't
And you're
heard
listening to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to Content is Profit. Today I have a special episode for you. It's part of a presentation that we did a couple weeks ago in an event in Orlando. This friend of ours, Colin, who runs a business they teach how to build gutter businesses, invited us to his conference, and we spoke in front of 50 people on how to turn the content into profit. And after the presentation, the feedback was incredible. It's one of the presentations that we've done in different events, but we cater it to the worker that's out there on the field day to day that might not have a whole setup, or they might not want to do a podcast, but instead they have things like this, like your phone, right? And they want to create daily content. So spoiler alert, we talked about the 6 levers, which if you haven't checked out those episodes, go back and just Google Content is Profit, 6 levers of content, and you'll be able to find them. Also, if you're not a part of businesscreator.club, we're happy to welcome you. I think we're still on pre-sale, and we have the lesson there, and there's Q&As if you want to learn more. So very quick recap about the 6 levers is: 1 is your messaging. 2, it's kind of like how do you create that piece of content. So in our podcast, Content is Profit, that's the messaging, that's the big idea. We record it in a podcast studio or in our home studio. And then the third level is like production wise, like how do you actually turn that into like a content product. And then after the creation process, we have to, and the production process, you have to distribute that content, right? So how do we put it out there? And then after that, it's like, how do we connect it to a revenue? How do we monetize that content? And then how do you manage? So that's a very, very fast recap on the 6 levers. So what we did in the presentation is we dove deep into those. We gave examples, and I'm happy to send you this presentation. Just go and join Business Creator Club. I think is a $1 a month right now, and we're happy to share that. So businesscreator.club. And then at the end, we recapped a little bit. So that's what I want to share today, is that quick recap about the elements with a few examples of people that are actually use their phones to record this kind of content and move it forward. It doesn't have to be a podcast. It doesn't have to be a fancy YouTube channel. And I think that's what it is. It's like, how do we use the tools that we have today, right? If you don't have a studio, if you don't have access to these, thousands of dollars of equipment, to still create some fun things. And these are some elements that we might want to have present when we do this. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, after that trip to Orlando, I went to my family and we went to the parks, and I was like, let me level up as a creator. And I'm creating a personal vlog so I can document some of those adventures and some of those things. So I'm using these exact frameworks on those channels and kind of leveraging what we know to see if we can do something that we also enjoy with the family, and so on. So I'll give you some examples. So here's, I'm going to share screen. So if you're listening, I'm going to do my best to describe what I'm looking at, but also you can also go to our YouTube channel at Content is Profit, and you can find the video there, or go to businesscreator.club. Okay, so here we go. Obviously, this is the wrap up. This is after we explain all the frameworks in the presentation, and we mentioned that the goal of your content, and specifically for these guys, and these are guys that are installing gutters in homes, that are working on constructions and different things. And this doesn't really change much, right? Like the goal, we made it repeat this, is like you person listening, watching, as a creator, right, needs to serve your audience by removing friction. That kind of like, that's the statement that we framed the whole thing. Like, again, you as a creator, podcaster, YouTuber, Instagram content, right, needs to serve your audience. That's the second element. By removing friction. And friction are elements like extra editing, for example. If you don't know how to edit, but you still need to put content out there, how can you produce something that doesn't need to be edited, right? For example, a live show or an interview on Instagram Live, or, going live on Facebook or LinkedIn, or maybe you write it out. So there's many, many examples to do that. So those are the first 3 elements that have to be present in all this to kind of move forward, right? You, the creator, your audience, and then removing friction of the process so it allows you to do it. And in fact, we ask a question, it's like, how many here have tried content before? And how many here have tried content before and have stopped, and almost the entire room kind of raised their hands? And that was a pretty interesting moment, because when we started asking the questions like, well, why did you stop doing the content? A lot of it has to do with, I thought I had to do this format, or I have to edit the video this way. And it was just like too complicated. It took a lot of time, and then it was not worth it because of, maybe the results on their end, they didn't really know how to connect monetization, or they just needed more time, right? So how can we increase the reps to do that? So back to our presentation here. The goal, again, as a creator, is to serve your audience by removing the friction. Now, that's going to create something really cool, which is high frequency. And that high frequency is going to bring more opportunities. Again, if you do that, if you as a creator serve your audience by removing the friction, it's going to create a lot of frequency, which is a lot of pieces of content. And again, there's no, I don't know how to say this. There's no secret recipe on how many pieces of content a week can you do. We continue to push the envelope, not only for our podcast, but also for the people that we help in the studio. And we're like, high volume continues to grab more attention. And then it's like, okay, when organic kind of reaches their top, can we try paid and put the content in front of more people? And that has proven to give results. So again, more frequency, more opportunities. Now, what does opportunity mean? And that's highly dependent on you. I'll share a quick story on kind of frequency and repetition way before our podcast. When we started 45 Live, the challenge that kind of triggered us publishing and moving the content forward. Previous to that, we stopped many, many times. And it was very frustrating because, like everybody else, we didn't see results from the content that we were creating. And mostly happened because we stopped. So we're like, okay, the only thing that we haven't really tried is being consistent, is putting the content out there, consistency for a long time. And so we came up with that challenge, 45 pieces of content in 45 days. And for us, because we didn't want to edit and we didn't have the capacity to edit at the time, we decided to do Facebook Lives. And that's what we did. And when we increased our frequency, which was like one piece of content every single day, the opportunities started to come up. And it was really interesting because the opportunities, we started seeing them as comments, maybe on the videos. If we ask people to comment a certain word or like to send us a DM, right? We always encourage people to connect with us. And how can we have more conversations? We were selling a service again. So for us, that meant, hey, if I establish a conversation with you, I can find out a little bit more of what you need. And if we're a fit, we can offer a solution. And that's how we ended up landing our first ever client for the service that we offer now, 5 years later. We still do that service. So again, with you removing the friction from your process and putting content out there, you're going to generate frequency, and that allows you to create opportunities, whether that is on the social platform itself or if you are having collaborations with those people that you bring collaborations. Now, the next framework that we're going to look at is, again, the quick recap of the 6 categories, right? You have the what to say, you have your creation, you have your production, you have your distribution, you have your monetization, right? And you have your operations. Like, how do you manage all that? And we can go deep into any one of these. And if you have questions, again, businesscreator.club. We're happy to hop on in and answer any questions. And then right here at the bottom of it is the publishing pyramid. Again, we've done episodes about this, but the quick recap is at the very top, right? We have our resources and scalability, right? So based on how much money do you have, or maybe, what's the team do you have? Do you have 5 video editors? Do you have 1 video editor? You have no video editor, right? The first step is to understand what are those resources that we have. So for example, for the vlog that we're creating on my end, right? For my family vlog, the resources right now is I have a script writer that we pay out of Fiverr. The cameraman is me because I'm recording point of view. That's the deciding factor, right? So not a lot of it. And what's the time? The time that we, record the thing. And right now we're deciding, should I edit just to figure it out, or should I give it to a different editor, right? And of course that comes with a budget. So that's how we start at a very high level. How do we start looking at the resources, right? The capacity of those resources, that's maybe the time, so how much time do they have, like how the quality of that. For example, for a script writer, can she do 1 or 2 scripts a week so we can review that? Can we do just 1 a week type deal? What's the capacity of you, for example, filming this? Where's the capacity of your editors? Maybe somebody that you subcontract, somebody outside on Fiverr, or you find outside talent, and maybe they have other clients. What's the capacity? Like, how much can they edit, for example? And then consistency, like, how consistent do we want to be? Do we want to be once a week? Do we want to be twice a week? Do we want to be 5 times a week, right? Based on the complexity of your content, you're going to decide that, and the complexity of your life, right? You're going to decide how consistent you want to be. So when we first started 45 Live, it was one video of less than, 5 minutes every single day. With Content is Profit, it started as 3 episodes a week. Right now it's 2 a week, right? And then social content, do we do anything else, right? Like, what's the consistency that you want to do? Pick a number. Doesn't matter if high volume, low volume. Pick a number and stick to it. And then obviously at the bottom is your messaging, right? Like, how do we obviously express the ideas and share those ideas with the people that are our audience, right? So those elements, that's what I highly encourage you guys to start looking at and pay really, really close attention. And if you want, you can put this presentation, right, literally like under each one of these. You can have a publishing pyramid for just your research. You can do the creation aspect. You could do one for just the production. You can do one just for distribution. Like, how do we do this? Like, what's the team that we have for distributing organically? What's the team that we have for Facebook ads, for example, right? How do we monetize this? And again, same thing. You're going to have staff. And if you're a solopreneur, maybe you have to wear the hat in each one of these. And those 2 frameworks kind of help put it in perspective. So, here it is. here's the full on, 6 lever with each of the publishing pyramid. So again, once we started executing on these slides, for example, like us as a creator or as podcasters, right, need to serve the audience, solving problems and having conversations with people that can share their stories on how they, were successful with content by removing friction. So because we remove friction out of the process and we're able to move the content forward, we now have more than 600 episodes. The whole craziness of not being able to publish for like a year of our story turned into what we now know as Content is Profit, the podcast that you're watching or listening right now. And we're super proud of it because at the time, these slides are a little bit old, but now we have more than 600 episodes, has been a top 25 show in almost every single country that we put out there. I think we ranked a couple months ago top 10 in the US. So thank you so much. We're part of one of the biggest networks in the US, and we acquired our second business. So it brought us opportunities, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with the amount of views or the amount of downloads. It brought us opportunities because of the conversations that we continue to have, because us as a creator serve the audience by removing the friction, and we follow that increase the frequency of episodes, that increase the frequency of micro content, that gave us more opportunities. And then we started adapting the publishing pyramid to each one of them. So we can now have under each specific one, research, creation, product, we have specific resources for those levers, right? So now you're like, okay, Luis, but at the beginning of the episode, you mentioned that, we can also do it for us that have cell phones and maybe we don't have a podcast, right? And of course, it can be applied to that. So here are some examples that are really cool that we share in that presentation. Everybody was kind of like going crazy. So this girl, Clean Girl, this is a person that now has a cleaning product, but she started by documenting her cleaning different bathrooms. So she was working on a cleaning company, and she will go to these houses and clean the entire bathrooms. And she was using different products. Company, or I think like her team, decided to create their own product. And obviously she's all pink. If you're watching the video, you see that she has like very pink tank top and different things. But her entire content is her documenting cleaning things. I think the latest trend that she's been doing has been cleaning, what are they called? Graveyards. So it's been pretty interesting with her product. And she shows the before and the after. Very simple content to go and create. And is literally, she puts a phone on a tripod and maybe catches a couple of angles as she cleans, point of view. And right now, I think her YouTube channel, we can't see it here too well, but it's 8-point-something million followers. Crazy. Okay. Next one. These guys, the luxury detailing, right now at the time of this recording or the time that we did this presentation, they had about 35,000 followers. They're from the Orlando area. And this is a guy that documents cleaning and detailing cars on location. So he goes, he meets with the owners, and then he shoots a before and an after of each of the areas that he's cleaning the cars. And his entire videos are like that. So if you're in the Orlando area and you find this guy, maybe you will give him a call to find out a little bit more about his pricing or different things. So also very good. And here on the screenshot, I don't know if you can see it, but you have 20,000 views, 250,000 views, 9 million views on a different one, 3,000 views. So obviously a wide range of things. But like I said, following the example as far as like messaging go, actually, this is a pretty cool exercise. Let's go through this. So with the 6 levers, right? If we go back here, the guy that's the detailing on the what to say or what to show, he's showing a before and an after, right? Several shots. So he's showing dirty and then he's showing clean, the results, right? How does it create it? So he has to go on location because he's working, right? So he's not taking extra time to do this. And then he's setting the phone up in different angles, probably with a tripod, and he didn't record when he's dirty, and then he didn't record when he's doing the work, and then he didn't record when he's clean, right? And then production-wise, probably little editing, maybe an hour or so in the phone software. There's different softwares that we can look at. I think we had a slide here. Let me see if I can find it. There's a few examples here for those watching or listening. You have captions on your phone. All these are available on your phone or devices. You have CapCut, super familiar. If you have DJI with one of those like drones, you can do that. You have your camera on your phone, and then obviously Facebook Live for if you're doing live, something like that. Back to our framework, right? Production, again, that editing, those videos that he's publishing is maybe a minute to 3 minutes, so they're very short. Distribution internally and the vertical platform. So he's been putting them, that example specifically is on Instagram, but the same videos, you can find them on YouTube Shorts, for example. So that distribution is not paid. And then monetization, how does it monetize? He puts the information of his profile right here, Orlando area. We come to you, 100% 5-star reviews, professional, all the call to actions with his website. So people can contact him directly on the platform through the DMs or through his website. And then how does he manage that? Well, that's probably his secret. How does he manage the content creation? I can only make assumptions, but because his content is actually while he's working, he probably has a creation schedule when he goes to work, and then on distribution schedule, maybe he tries to stay as frequent as possible. So one thing here that a lot of people ask us is like, well, if I create once a week, do I have to publish once a week? No, you can batch create ahead of time. Let's say you have 5 jobs in a week, and then you want to publish, one of those every single week. Again, the higher the frequency, like we mentioned here, the more opportunities you're going to have. So keep that in mind. But for example, for podcasters, I mean, we love the people that come into the studio, for example, every single week, and they record one time, and then that gets released on the next day. But also, we have people that come in once a month. They record all their episodes in 2 sittings, a couple of days, and then they have the rest of the month for no creation. So I encourage you to kind of experiment with your creation process. For some people, that helps. For some other people, they're like, oh, that's way too crazy for those couple of days, and they rather spread it out. In our specific case, we like to keep active publishing every single week, so we record 2 or 3 times a week. This is another good example here for those that are watching is the Green Industry Podcast. So this guy, Paul Jamieson, he was also an awesome guest here in Content is Profit. And he started a podcast about lawn care. For some people, that might be the most boring thing. But for the people in that industry, he definitely created somewhat of an incredible movement. Right now, they have a book called Lawn Care Business. And then a bunch of opportunities came out of publishing. I think it was a daily podcast at some point. And one of the latest opportunities was working with a brand like John Deere to go and actually host a podcast in one of the biggest conferences that they have. So, like I said, lots of opportunities. If we know our framework of, you as a creator needs to serve your audience, solving their problems, right, by removing the friction and then applying, that way creating more frequency, more opportunities, and kind of following your 6 stages here, or the 6 levers to continue to be creative and to be excited about your content and to be frequent on social media or wherever you publish your podcast or content or different things. So, my question to you is like, how are you gonna be implementing? How are you gonna implement this in your content? You know, you might be a mom of two and wants to get into affiliates. Awesome. Like, how do you implement these little frameworks? Like, how can you be, again, how can you as a creator, right, need to serve your audience with different products that maybe your audience wants to know by removing the friction? So if editing is friction, how can you do without editing, right? Do you hire an editor or do you go live, for example, right? Again, your specific example is where kind of like this matters. And I encourage you to start testing things out so you can be frequent, right? Frequency is going to bring you the opportunities. And even if you don't know today, how are you going to connect that content to revenue? The more you do it, these opportunities are going to start showing up. Maybe it's a comment. Maybe somebody is sending you a DM. Maybe it's a collaboration with somebody that really like your content and they want to, you know, partner with you for something else, right? In our specific case, our very first client, somebody that saw our content on LinkedIn when we were going live at 11:30 at night because of the challenge. And that person invited us to have a conversation. He called it content dinners, and he brought like 6 other entrepreneurs, and we explained what we did there, and that generated that first opportunity. It ended up being a 6-figure deal down the line, and kind of started the company that we have now and everything else. So being present and being frequent really helped us. So hopefully, you know, by the end of this presentation, helped you move the needle forward. Again, I'm happy to share a copy of the entire presentation if you want. If you haven't yet, go check out businesscreator.club. We are just opening the doors. Right now, we're jumping on calls with the people that are joining. It's $1 a month. If you want to cancel it, it's 100% satisfaction. If you want your dollar back, 100%. But we're happy to we jump on Q&As, and all these frameworks are going to be there to help us out. So I'm very excited on that platform, and hopefully we'll see you there. With that said, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you around. Take care. Bye.